Hey guys, what's going on? It's Clever Techie, and in this video we're going to learn how to create an HTML form with PHP validation and email submit. Let's go ahead and get started right away. I'm going to open up the browser and go to a site called codepen.io. If you haven't heard about this awesome website, it's like a paradise for web developers. You're going to absolutely love it. Okay, so once you're on the home page, go ahead and click on the search button at the top right corner of the screen and type form or contact form, which is what we're going to be creating in this video. And you're going to get a result of 7,642 pens found for contact form. So you're going to get a result of all kinds of different forms available for you to use. Let's go ahead and pick the form number 4, which is a blue form here called HTML5 contact form. Just click on it. And this is what the pen looks like. Basically, it gives you raw HTML, CSS, and JavaScript. In this case, there's no JavaScript, but this is exactly what we need because we're going to be creating PHP validation rules. So, and at the bottom here, you can preview how the actual form looks like. Looks pretty good to me. So what we're going to do here is just copy HTML, and I'm going to go back to my NetBeans project, and I've created a folder here called form. I'm going to right click on it and choose PHP file and name the file PHP form or just a form.php. And I'm going to go ahead and paste all that HTML inside of this file. So that's going to be form.php, where the actual HTML form is going to live. Also, I'm going to create another file in the same folder called, and this time is going to be cascading style sheet file.css. I'm just going to name it form also, and it's going to be named form.css. I'm going to delete all these comments here, go back to the browser and copy the CSS from the pen, paste the code inside the CSS file, and save it. At this point, we got all the code we need from CodePen, so I'm just gonna go ahead and close that. And right now, let's go ahead and preview what the form looks like in a browser. So this is what it looks like right now, because the CSS is not being loaded right now. So from our form.php, let's include a CSS file using link tag link rel equals style sheet href equals form.css, because form.css is located in the same folder as our form.php file in this case. And then for the type, I'm gonna say text /.css and close the tag. Now the form.css should be included, and go back to the browser, and voila, we have a form. We have a contact form which is ready to be used. Okay, so if I tried submitting this form right now, as you can see at the right hand side of the screen, there's a message being popped up. Please fill out this field. And HTML5, which is what we're using here, comes with its own validation rules, basically, and it's validating those input fields using the required keyword. As you can see, all these fields include the required keyword, and it's also going to validate those input fields using based on what kind of type that field is. In this case, it's an email, so it's going to validate and it's gonna, if I enter a wrong email address, hold on, let me fill out this stuff here. So if I enter a wrong email address, it's gonna give me a message box about the email address being invalid. But I don't like these because first of all, the phone number, like the type tel, is not included. It doesn't work on all the browsers. It just works in Safari, and I don't know. We're just gonna create our own PHP validation rules anyway. So let's go ahead and get rid of these required fields. those message boxes also seem to pop up in some random places on the screen, and I'm not sure how to change that. I just haven't played around with it much. And for the type of the fields, let's just enter text, because we don't want any HTML5 validation rules. And add this type equals text for the text area as well. And then let's go ahead and create another file called form_process.php in the same folder. This is going to be the file which will process the form, and it's going to have all the validation code and email submit code as well. Now, if I open this file here, you can see there's already a bunch of code in it, and I've included the link to in the description of this video, where you can download this file with all this code in it. Now, let me just test something out before we submit. I'm going to use a die function so that this code is not executed yet. And before we do that, we need to make sure that this file is being called from our HTML form page. So for the action, we're going to say, I'm going to include a PHP tag here and close it, and I'm going to say server PHP self. Okay, so what this function does, or what this global variable does, is it's going to call the page itself. So all the PHP code that's on this page is going to be executed when the page is called. Well, right now you see that there's no PHP code on this page, and we want to call this form process.php file. So what we're going to do here at the top is we're going to include that file using include function. Just like that. Easy as pie. So now when this page is called, it's going to call itself, and it's going to include form_process.php, and this is all the code that's going to be included. Right now there's nothing in it because I used die construct, so it's not going to execute anything. For now, I just wanted you guys to see what's inside the this variable called this global variable called post, and then yeah, just the post. So okay, so if I go back to the browser and refresh the page, you can see that everything is working as expected. Basically, the form is being submitted and it's calling itself, and the file, the form process, is being included. But right now there's nothing being submitted because all of these fields, the post doesn't know about them. So in order for us to let the post know about those fields, we need to name our fields using keyword name. So just like that, we're gonna name all of our fields. Let's use double quotes. So name is gonna have a name of name, and then the email, gonna name it email, and just add name the phone number phone, and let's name the website. Let's name the website URL. And finally, message is going to be the name for our message field. Okay, I'm going to control save that, go back to the browser, and let's go ahead and refresh the page and reload the whole thing. Now, hold on one second. What's going on here? Name equals name, okay. Okay, let me delete this die function. Maybe that's what's happening. Okay, yeah, because nothing has been submitted yet. So I'm just gonna enter my name here, my email, phone number, and my website. Click submit, And now you can see that all these this array has been printed out with our variables and values at the top here. So everything is working as expected. We have our post, and we're just printing the post out right now to see what values and variables it has. Okay, so let's go ahead and let me explain what's going on here in this code. So first of all, we want the error messages to be displayed on the form right after the input fields. So in order for us to do that, we're going to add span tags here right after the input fields. And I'm going to say span class equals error, which is going to be a specially formatted span for the error messages. And then the PHP tags. And right now, okay, so let's go ahead and add all of these after the input fields. And the variable name for the email is going to be email error. Variable name for the phone number is going to be phone error. And the website is going to be URL error. Okay, so here's what's happening right now. We're setting all these variables to an empty string because when the form is being displayed, we don't want these error messages to appear right away. So these variables are being printed out right now, but they're empty because the form hasn't been submitted yet. Once the form has been submitted, which is what we check for here in the special global variable called _server using a request method string parameter, once the form has been submitted, which is what this is saying, using the method post, then do all the validation. And before that, all of our errors are empty because nothing has been submitted yet, and they're being printed out as empty strings on our form, which is exactly what we want. So we're not getting any error messages here. Okay, so next we also create these empty variables, which is gonna have which is all the variables that are gonna contain the actual content that has been submitted. And okay, so next let me go through all these validation rules real fast. So when a form is submitted, which is what we're checking for here using the method post, we want to check if the name is empty. If the name is empty, we're just gonna say name is required, and that's gonna be the value of the variable name error, and it's gonna be displayed here right after the name error, right after the input box name. And it also checks the email if it's empty, and it checks the phone if it's empty, and that's it. So those are the three fields that can be left blank. So if I try to submit the form now, you can see that the name is required, email is required, and phone is required, and all the variables are being set correctly to name is required, email is required, and phone is required values. And if I checked form.php, this is exactly what's happening here. It's been outputted. So when a form is submitted, we check if it has been submitted using post method, and then we check if it's empty. If it is, set the value to name is required, email is required, and phone is required. So hopefully that makes sense. Let's move on here. Okay, first of all, I copied most of this code from w3schools.com, and it had this test input function as well. So this is what the test input function looks like. Basically, it strips out some unnecessary spaces and slashes, and it also converts. It also escapes all the special HTML characters, which is good practice, I guess. And it does that to all the fields, so you can see how the test input function is being called, and on every field here and here and here. And then the last thing, if everything looks good, if the name has been entered, then the regular expression is checking if there's only letters and white spaces in the name. And if there's like a number in the name, it's going to say only letters and white spaces allowed. So that's how that works, and everything else is basically the same thing. Here we use the filter var function and filter validate email, which is just another way for validating an email address using built-in PHP function called filter var. For the phone number, W3 Schools didn't have this one, so I had to find it at stackoverflow.com. And this is an awesome regular expression for matching a phone number. And it does exactly that. It just matches the phone number in different formats. And then finally, the URL also has this pretty complex regular expression that you don't have to really understand. And it displays invalid URL if it has been entered in an invalid way. Invalid URL. So that's how all that works. And finally, there's a message, which is we don't want to check if the message has been if the message is invalid, because we want to see any kind of message. Okay, so for in the form.css, let's actually create a class called error, and I'm gonna set the color to red, and then all the error message is gonna be red now because we're setting the class to error here in the span class. So it's just easier to see the error messages. Okay, so at this point, the form process is being executed, and all the validation rules are working great. Now, I've also wanted to include, okay, so let me show you something. If the fields have been entered correctly, but one of them, for example, email is invalid, and I click submit, what happens is all the fields are emptied out. We don't really want that, or I just prefer all my information to stay intact when one of the fields is invalid. So we're gonna create we're gonna add value to our input fields, and inside the value we're just gonna output the name, the variables that are being entered here, which are being set to the empty string. But those are the variables that are going to have information of the post once they're submitted. So I'm going to do this, add this value to all these input fields here after name, and message as well. Okay, so this is going to be named email. It's going to be named phone, and URL, and message. Okay, so let's test it out now. So as you can see, all the variables are still there even after we resubmit our form. If we enter all the valid information except the URL, for example, it says invalid URL, but all of our other fields are being printed out because we're setting the values to those variables that are being submitted using post here and here and here, etc. Okay, that's how that works. At this point, all the validation rules are working great, and we're pretty much ready to submit our form. So let's go ahead and add the code to submit the form now. Okay, so we still want to be inside the post statement because we only want to submit the form once the form has been posted. So first of all, we're just going to check if all the errors are empty to make sure there's no error messages. So I'm just going to go through all of them and say if name error equals empty and email error equals empty and phone error equals empty. Actually, it's a double equal sign. I'm sorry. Okay. And URL error equals empty. Then we want to send our message. So if all the error messages are empty, we want to go ahead and proceed with sending the actual email. Okay, so let's go ahead and construct the message body. I'm going to create a variable named message body and set it to empty. And then I want to unset the post submit, because there's not going to be anything in it. And then let's go ahead and create a for each loop to loop through the post, just like that. And then I'm gonna use the message body. This is a concatenate operator, concatenate string operator, and I'm gonna just enter all the key and value inside of this, inside of the single variable called message body. So it's gonna go through the array and find all these keys and values, and it's gonna put everything in one single variable called message body as a string. Okay, next is the actual sending out the message. All the content is ready here. First of all, if you're doing this on a local host, you want to make sure, go ahead and open up your php.ini file. So I'm gonna open it up here, and you want to search for SMTP. For the SMTP in your php.ini file, you want to make sure that this value is correct. If you're doing it with localhost, you want to contact your localhost, your ISP, and make sure, find out what your SMTP outgoing mail server value should be. They should tell you that. Also, the port is usually 25, and the send mail from should be your email address. So once you set all of that in php.ini, by the way, if you're not doing it on a local host, all this information is going to be available with your at your web hosting company. Okay, but once you do that, if you're doing it on a local host, you want to go to Services under Windows, and you want to go ahead and restart Apache. Let's go ahead and restart Apache. It's gonna take a little bit. Okay, once that's done, we are ready to use PHP mail function to send the actual email. So we're gonna create a variable named to and enter the email address of the person where we want to send the email to. Subject equals, I'm just gonna name it form submit, contact form submit. And next is a mail function, which takes in 3 parameters: to, subject, and message body. And we already have all these variables available. And actually, if this function is successful, if the mail has been sent, we also want to display a success message. So we're going to create a variable named success and say message sent, thank you for contacting us. And then we also want to reset all our field values back to empty, because it's good practice to reset the form field values once the form has been submitted. Okay, so that's looking good now. Let's see if this works now. Oh, actually, for the last thing here, I want to create a variable success here, and also for the form.css, let's go ahead and add the success class just to modify the success message a little bit. And for the color, I want to set it to this color here, text align, center, font weight bold, and font size 14px. Okay, so that's going to be our success message. I'm going to completely reload the form now and get an error message, of course. What's going on here? Come on. Oh, success equals, I think I missed the equal operator. Okay, so now there's a blank form, and I think we have everything ready to go to send a test message. So go ahead and enter all the field information. Gonna enter a fake phone number. Don't try calling this one. Website URL and message. Hello Clever Techie. I would like to subscribe to your YouTube channel. Okay, let's submit this form. And for some reason our success message is not being printed out. Oh, okay. Because we forgot to add the success message here in our PHP form or HTML form. So we're gonna say span class equals success. Close the span. Actually, let's put it in a div tag instead. And here we want to echo out the success variable. Okay, let me reload the form and do this again. Hello Clever Techie, I would like to subscribe to your YouTube channel. Okay, submit the form. And now we're getting the message sent, thank you for contacting us. And all the fields have been reset to empty string, which is exactly what we wanted. And I'm gonna open my Outlook here, press receive message, and voila, message is sent. Hello Clever Techie, I would like to subscribe to your YouTube channel. So the message is being sent successfully and the success message is being displayed. So everything is working, the validation fields are working, and all the error messages work, and all the values of the fields work as well, and everything, when all the errors are empty, it's sending out the message to the email which we specified. I hope you guys found this video useful. If you did, please like, share, and subscribe, and I'll see you next time. Clever Techie out.